Welcome back to Friday Night Live on this December 3rd, 2010. A little blustery across the state of Iowa. And, of course, our first edition of the 2010-2011 Winter Edition. We're broadcasting from our Bob Oliver Heating and Air Conditioning Studios. 4 generations of experience. Combine that with the passion for the heating and cooling business and strong desire to serve their customers at Bob Oliver Heating and Cooling. They aren't happy until you're comfortable. 515-277-1607. And I know this guy's comfortable. Well, he'll be driving home now. He's kind enough to join us. He was on the road last night down here in the state capitol at the Hall of Pride. He's Bud Legg, the information director for the Iowa High School Athletic Association. You're a road warrior.
Yeah, I kind of like to travel, and tonight it was a real special thing for me. I'm at South Hamilton, and they just dedicated the gym floor in memory of Jim Marsh, and Jim was here, and they did it between games, and it was a great honor for a Hall of Fame coach and an individual who has been at South Hamilton for 45 years.
Well, it was great to see you last night down there. What a great little Christmas party at the Hall of Pride. That's a great place to throw a party. I know it was a lot of fun to do our shows down there, but that's a great place to throw a Christmas party.
Oh, it really is. There's people could go around and look at the archives and socialize, and it was a great event, and Chad Ellsbury did a wonderful job organizing it with Shelley Johnson and Jack Lazier from the Hall of Pride.
Well, and Chad's wife needs to get the credit. She's the one that did all that grub, and that was super.
Well, Vicki was in her element there, and you're so right. The food was excellent.
Well, Bud, talking about being an element, let's look back before we look ahead to the big winter's fall season. Boy, up at the Unidome, the state football championships, 2 different days. Friday, the day of the quarterback, and Saturday, the champions, the day of the defenses. But some great football played nonetheless.
Well, yeah, we had some great football all year, and certainly the playoffs were indicative of that. You mentioned the Friday games; they were really close and well played, and then the defenses took over and rose to the occasion, and may have had some lopsided wins in that regard, but nevertheless, when you play for a state championship, you got to be awful proud.
Well, one thing that's a mainstay here in the state of Iowa, if you're from Iowa, either you are a wrestler or you love wrestling. In Iowa high school wrestling, the best in the country, and we're going to have an exciting wrestling season again. And it's kind of interesting because some of the namesays like Waverly Shellrock and Iowa City High and Don Bosco of Gilbertville and Ballard of Huxley and some of those that are usually at the top, not at the top this year to start the polls. That's going to be a lot of fun. It was really crazy to see Don Bosco not rated up there for the first time in a while.
Well, it really is, but with their tradition, tradition never. What do they say? Tradition never rebuilds; it just always reloads. Yeah. And I'm sure the Dons will be heard from when it comes tournament time.
Well, basketball last year. I mean, the Ames story was a great one, a record in Class 4A with consecutive victories, back-to-back state championships, but. That being said, they were basically put them in, and who's going to play them was the question this year. Class 4A looks to be a lot of fun. You can make a top 10 with a lot of different combinations this season.
Well, you're so right. There's a lot of those teams that can make a case for themselves, and it's going to be interesting to see how that class unfolds as the season progresses.
You know, when you talk basketball in the state of Iowa and here early in the collegiate season, it's a testament as you watch these early college games. The depth in this decade of Iowa kids playing at the Division I and the mid-major level, it's just it's a testament to the feeder systems, what's happening in the communities, and an absolute blast just to watch these early college games and see our kids that migrated from the gyms across the state.
Well, you're so right in that regard. I think our coaches, our high school coaches, do a great job networking with college coaches in basketball, just like they do in football. And as a result, the level of play and the level of skill development that these kids have at an earlier age really gets pronounced.
But I got to completely switch gears here, but I'm not going to throw a curve at you. I haven't had a chance to talk to you, and I always like to talk a little history. The night of the Friday night state championships, when you were awarding the Hall of Fame, and I almost got a tear in my eye because I knew him really well. Mikey Corey, who you guys inducted in the Hall of Fame for Bishop Heelan, had a superb career and went on to Notre Dame, and we lost him at 48 years young. And then Timmy Dwight afterwards a City High is playing for the state championship, and then I recalled that the last time that a City High and a Heelan guy were together was 1993, and that's when Timmy Dwight ran wild up there in the dome.
Yeah, he sure did, and that was just a tremendous Hall of Fame class. You mentioned two of them, but for Paul Lavig to come back from Bluemont, Virginia for it, the Belmont athlete, Dennis Gibson, who had an exemplary career at Ankeny and Iowa State and in the NFL, was there. Todd Twachtman, probably one of the best athletes ever out of the Cedar Rapids area, and Michael Berger for the Harlan Cyclones and the University of Iowa. It was really a stellar group, and I felt kind of guilty trying to squeeze them all into 45, 50-second introductions.
Bud, Mike brought up a good point. You talked about it just a few minutes ago, and that was the talent here in the state of Iowa. And, we talked about Harrison Barnes all season last year, but I kept telling everybody, and maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong, I don't care either way, just recognizing this kid, but Doug McDermott may have been the second best player in the state. Look what he's doing at Creighton right now.
Well, anybody that watched Ames play the last couple of years knew that Doug McDermott was going to be a real find. It's been a long time since I've seen anybody with as soft of hands as he had around the basket and the moves that he had, and certainly he was a key figure in that Ames championship.
I know one thing. The worst thing that could have happened to UNI was his dad ended up at Creighton, because UNI lost a pretty good basketball player. Yeah,
and I think it's time that we kind of need to tip our hat to UNI, not only with the great win that they had over Iowa State the other night, but the manner in which they allowed Doug to leave without any penalty, and because if they wanted to, they could have really held him up and ruined the show for at least 1 year for him. But Ben Jacobson and the UNI people are really be commended for giving a kid a full opportunity.
One last little segment from our Friday night championship. We did an interview with Roger Jansen the night before. You'll appreciate this. The night before they played Solon, and I said, "Hey, Roger, did you happen to watch that South Dakota State basketball game against University of Iowa Hawkeyes? Your two quarterbacks went head-to-head, and in the typical, it'd be like a Kurt Blatt, Roger Jansen form. He said, "Yeah, I wish they never would have discovered that round ball," he says.
Well, I'll tell you, and you mentioned Roger. I think that was one of the better coaching efforts all year in Class 3A was what he was able to accomplish with an inexperienced group that should be poised to maybe go to the next level next year.
Well, yeah, that was a team that, with laden with a lot of youth and a lot of athletes that, a lot of people didn't think would get past Harlan. So, I was proud of them as an alum.
I got somebody else to blame now when they're ranked number one preseason. I'm going to say Bud Legg said the next level. The next level's a championship.
Yeah.
Thanks, Bud.
All right.
Great to see you and Marge and your daughter last night. Take care of yourself. Drive home safe.
I will. Thank you.
That's our buddy Bud Legg. He just does a superb job.
The pressure's off.
He and Mark. Well, you ranked the basketball team number one this year.
I did?
I told you not to until the second part of the year.
You got to rank a 4A team at least number one in 3A, don't you?
You want to look up the census and how many students are in that
I'm just
antiquated
kidding, Mike.
building.
I know it gets your goat. That's all I'm doing. And I got you.
I get enough of that from Greg Lanzine, Billy Cundiff, those Harlan Shills.
Oh, I know about them.
Calling us class.
They don't have as far. They got well, how many miles radius is Harlan?
Harlan Community.
About 500
Harlan
mile
Community.
radius.
And I'll tell you another thing. They have 67 more students than we do.
Yeah.
Let's take a break before I get all worked up.
I'm sorry, Mike.
Here on Friday Night Live, our Winter Sports Edition on the Iowa Sports Connection Radio and Television Network.